Hi, I'm Alec Couros, and I'm a professor of educational technology and media at the University of Regina in Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm here in Boston right now, and I've just been talking for the last couple of days on the idea of digital citizenship and digital media and social networks in education. And I just thought I'd talk a little bit about networks especially, and using social media in education. We're seeing a great use of social media in all aspects of K-12 education and higher education as well. We're seeing everything from Vine to Instagram to Twitter to YouTube. And it's becoming really a big part of what schools do, what teachers do, how we identify, how we create identities, and how we even have institutional identities. So often we see the situation where social media may be blocked. We have YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and other similar software blocked from schools, services like that. And in some cases it's due to bandwidth, sometimes it's due to distrust. But what we're seeing is, certainly students are getting around these barriers anyway. Luckily, I think, very fortunately, we're seeing many teachers take on and begin to model social media in really important ways. You're seeing this great influx of teachers using social media, especially things like Twitter, using hashtags connecting around the world. Things like EdChat and SSChat for social studies and SciChat for science educators is really connecting teachers in a way that we've never seen before. Many teachers are using Twitter and other social media in courses, for instance. So they're using hashtags to allow students to speak differently, to use a back channel in courses. They're using tools like Instagram to allow them to take pictures related to the course, whether it's math or social studies or things around the places that they visit. YouTube is becoming very, very big in terms of not only reviewing content from the internet that's available, but also in students creating their own videos and actually, creating a student voice. And of course, teachers are using tools like YouTube to create flipped lessons, to talk about what they're doing, to personalize some of the learning opportunities, and to really even use tools such as Explain Everything or other screencasting tools to explain really complex concepts to students in very different ways, especially using multimedia. One of the really interesting things that I'm seeing as well in the classroom are teachers taking on even interesting worksheets to talk about what a student would tweet even at the level of grade 1. Now this might seem a little bit odd that we're talking about Twitter in early years, but I think it's really important to think about in terms of the idea of digital identity and digital citizenship. And the more we can actually talk about social media as being part of our everyday lives, the idea that anything that we post online does stay up there forever is something very new. We come from a place where it was easy to be private, and now it's very difficult to be private, and it's really rather by default to be public. And so in understanding what this means, and understanding when we take on a tool such as Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, what that means in terms of audience, who's going to read it, who could potentially make that public or publicize our tweets. This is really an important concern for all students in terms of how they see their lives, how they grow and develop, whether it's bullying or in looking at their own job prospects. I think these are really important considerations. So certainly one of the biggest strategies is having teachers who do this well, who model for their students different ways to use social media in very responsible ways. Another important strategy is the use of e-portfolios. Having students use a multitude of tools, such as blogging or blogs, using Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and other tools to actually create content, to create artifacts or document their own learning in distinct ways. Even things like Google Drive, I think, are really excellent tools that allow students to actually share publicly some of their learning. In bringing together some of these tools, in using them responsibly and bringing them together in some sort of portfolio, I think this is where you start to see the development of a really responsible digital identity. So when we start thinking about students when we Google them, for instance, we get to the point that we start to see sort of a distinct perform digital identity that will be much more positive for students. We can start to think about really complex topics such as bullying. We can think of topics such as job placement, the ability to be a professional in our societies. And I think these are really important questions and topics. I do believe if we don't really take on this particular problem, if we don't start to look at social media in really rich ways, if we don't start to model these things, I think students will be left out. We're seeing the average age of social media maturity at about 11 years of age, which means students are moving from things like Club Penguin to things like Facebook or Instagram. We're even seeing students as early as 9 years old to be on Instagram. So they're developing their web identities. So I guess in some sense, I just want to appeal to you, to districts, to teachers, to supervisors, to administrators, that this is the time that we need to model these things. And by blocking them, we're not avoiding the problem. We're just basically letting our students sort of fend for themselves. And I think we can do better.